Jake would have enough time, seeing as he's already undersized. He's not a real heavyweight, and this is Anthony fucking Joshua we're talking about.
Take a punch, really. If he takes a big punch from Jake Paul, if he gets hurt in any way by Jake Paul, if he doesn't absolutely ice Jake Paul within a few rounds of this 8-round scheduled bout, well then it really affects his...
Tension exploded at the press conference when Anthony Joshua stepped forward and confronted Jake Paul head-on. What was supposed to be a routine promotional event turned volatile instantly. Joshua felt that Paul had crossed a line with his remarks, taking them as direct disrespect toward him and the heavyweight division as a whole. His expression hardened, his tone grew sharp, and the heavyweight champion made it clear that Paul's behavior had pushed him too far. The atmosphere changed immediately. Media, security, and fans all sensed that this rivalry was now deeply personal. The intense press conference clash was only the spark. In the days that followed, analysts, trainers, and veteran fighters weighed in, dissecting every angle of the potential Joshua vs. Paul showdown. Legendary trainer Barry McGuigan, a man who has spent decades around the world's hardest punchers, delivered especially strong criticism. He emphasized that even experienced boxers feel genuine fear when facing a heavy hitter, especially one with unpredictability and raw power like Jake Paul. McGuigan highlighted one crucial truth: the first clean punch can instantly change the course of any fight. According to him, this single fact makes the matchup far more dangerous than casual fans might believe.
Some people are saying, you know, AJ's grabbing the bag. There's nothing wrong with that, because anybody else, if they got offered that kind of money, they would do it. So,
yep.
And some people are suggesting it might damage his legacy. Where do you sit with the decision of him taking that fight? And it's a professional 8-round fight as well.
Yes, it's a highly dangerous fight for Jake Paul. I don't know what he's doing, unless they have done some sort of caveat or some sort of agreement that he says he's going to go easy on him, or he's not going to go flat out. But you know, I've been tossing this up and down in my mind and trying to figure how and under God, when he had agreed to fight someone like Tank Davis, who is, you know, several divisions below him. That's more like what Jake Paul does. And then he goes from there to fighting Anthony Joshua. I mean, just look at what happened to Francis Ngannou, who's a big, athletic, tough guy and had gone 12 rounds with Tyson Fury and given him a real ding-dong. And then he gets absolutely obliterated in a round and a half against Joshua. That shows you, despite the fact that he's been knocked out since by Daniel Dubois, who could knock out anybody, by the way, in any weight division or in any era of the heavyweight division. He's such a powerful guy, he could knock anybody out if he hits them properly. But you know, it just seems utter madness. And
Wade, host of the Wade Concept podcast, revealed Jake Paul's secret weapon for the Anthony Joshua fight and how it has already been exposed. Wade explained that Paul has been sparring with a series of heavyweights chosen specifically for their similarity to Joshua's height, body frame, punching power, and ring experience. These sparring sessions are designed to shock Paul's body into adjusting to true heavyweight power in real time. By facing fighters who mimic Joshua's physical attributes, Paul is sharpening his timing, strengthening his chin, and learning how to handle pressure from someone far bigger and technically superior. It is, according to Wade, Paul's most serious preparation yet.
Anthony Joshua fight, if you're Jake Paul, who hasn't fought someone in the top, realistically, the top 50. I know Tommy Fury is ranked in the top 50, but anyone that is a top 50 fighter, even in your weight class, let alone a top 10, top 5 heavyweight in Anthony Joshua, who was a 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. Can you get prepared for a guy like that if you brought in, let's just say, a deity, freaking Zeus, Hercules, whoever, to prepare you? Could you do it? I don't think that Jake would have enough time, seeing as he's already undersized. He's not a real heavyweight, and this is Anthony fucking Joshua we're talking about. But I will say, there were rumors going around that Jake was not taking this fight as seriously as he needed to. That Jake was dilly-dallying, flying to go see F1 in Miami after his press conference, and then going to see his girl all the way in the Netherlands if she's trying to qualify for, I think, the Olympics or something else. There was this post from his girlfriend. I don't know if, again, this was in the Netherlands or where it was at, or maybe this is an old picture, but Jake flying around the world when he has a fight in about 4 weeks is probably not the greatest look, and it doesn't seem to make it look like he's taking it as serious as he needs to, locked away in the gyms of Puerto Rico. Now, again, that could have been a different picture. That could have been something else, but that's pretty shocking to see. With that being said, I want to push back on that because I do think Jake is taking this as seriously as he absolutely needs to, because this is not only the toughest fight of his career, it's the most dangerous to the longevity of his career, to his health and well-being. And so to do something like that, you need to bring in the best help possible to get ready. We already heard that Jake Paul was preparing it for Anthony Joshua by sparring the guy that Anthony Joshua was about to fight in Cassius Chaney, this gentleman right here, who was 24-3 from B-More, aka the DMV, and apparently is a top 100 heavyweight, even though it doesn't say he's actually a top 100 heavyweight, but that was what he was being marketed as.
Former pro boxer and analyst Spencer Oliver examined the matchup through a different lens. For him, this isn't just a fight, it's a symbolic moment in boxing's evolution. Speaking on a panel of experts, Oliver drew comparisons to Muhammad Ali's era, reminding viewers that Ali often took unorthodox, spectacle-driven fights that captivated audiences far beyond traditional boxing fans. Oliver suggested that Joshua facing Jake Paul could serve a similar cultural purpose. He argued that this fight has the power to merge two worlds, traditional boxing loyalists and the massive, youthful, digitally native fanbase that follows Jake Paul. According to Oliver, this crossover could massively increase the sport's visibility, bringing in millions of new viewers, boosting sponsorship revenue, and creating global headlines. The fight represents a blending of entertainment and sport, positioning it as a landmark event that bridges generations and expands boxing's reach into the social media era. Oliver believes this isn't just a fight, it's a cultural moment that could define the future of boxing's popularity.
Pops him a few times in the face, walks out of 150 million quid. No one will remember the fact he fought Jake Paul. They'll remember the fact he knocked Klitschko out in Wembley in 2017.
Totally agree with that.
So I'm kind of, whilst I don't like it, and I don't like the way that Jake Paul gravitates to these brilliant athletes and like a moth sucks the life out of them because he gets a benefit of association, because I think they deserve all the association. But he is a and there was opportunity there, isn't there?
Listen, commercially, of course it works because it'll be huge and there'll be a load of money on the table. For Anthony Joshua, it's like sort of, you know, he's going to get rewarded very well with no risk, minimal risk, no risk at all. He's going to go in there and he may then put all this stuff to bed with Jake Paul and calling out all these different champions, etc., etc. So, of course it works. And when you're talking about, you know, the credibility that Joshua's going to get, he's not going to get done now, but are people going to remember that? Of course they're not. Like, when he goes on to do what he does, didn't Muhammad Ali have some sort of strange fight in the middle of his career? Didn't he box? Yeah, he did. He boxed some non-boxing guy and whatnot. Like, people don't remember that. That's what I'm saying. Look, us as boxers, we don't remember stuff like that.
It was replicated in Rocky. So, he did a version of fighting Thunderlips, didn't he? So,
veteran journalist Gareth A. Davies raised serious concerns, focusing on one thing above all, safety. Davies pointed out the massive weight and experience gap between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. Joshua is a lifelong heavyweight with years of world-class training, while Paul is still relatively new to the sport and significantly smaller. According to Davies, this fight pushes the boundaries of what can be considered safe inside a professional boxing ring. He warned that if Joshua lands a clean, powerful punch early, especially at full heavyweight force, the consequences could be severe. While the spectacle is undeniably fascinating, Davies stressed that regulators must think carefully. One miscalculation could lead to a dangerous outcome for either fighter.
So, as I am with you, there is a danger in this fight. The odds are, Joshua's 1-12, obviously. Jake Paul is 6-1, yeah, to win this fight in a two-horse race in which this is a guy who lost to Tommy Fury, Tyson Fury's brother, in an 8-round fight, who, for me, I wrote that it would damage his legacy a week ago. It will damage his legacy for several reasons. If the Deontay Wilder fight never emerges, which it looks like it isn't, I've been calling for that fight for ages. If those two got in a ring together, it's still a massive fight. It's a dangerous fight to sanction, in my view. It sets the wrong precedent. it is 10-ounce gloves. It is a boxing match. It's not an exhibition. This isn't a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. This is one of the most dangerous finishers in the world, who is probably 5 levels above Jake Paul and a weight division above him. I think it's irresponsible to let those two in a ring together in a proper boxing match. That's my view. It doesn't damage his bank balance, but if he earns $70 million for this,
Analysts Angelo and Josh offered a strict technical breakdown. They stated bluntly that Jake Paul, though brave and improving, does not belong in the same category as elite heavyweights like Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder. Joshua and Wilder possess a combination of timing, precision, speed, and frightening knockout power that simply cannot be replicated by smaller fighters or young talents. These qualities take years, if not decades, to build. They emphasized that courage alone cannot replace experience, and while Paul's confidence is admirable, it does not make him equal to fighters who have spent their entire lives at the top of the sport.
Don't think that he could compete at the highest level, and I don't think he'd beat the top 5, top 6 guys. But that in that weight class is where he'd be at, like say 180, 188 or 189, somewhere around there is where he'd probably compete. There's not a lot of talent there though. So he might be pretty good in those weight classes. Him competing in the heavyweight division against like Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua or anybody else, no. He gets annihilated. I'm very surprised he signed this fight.
I was shocked he signed this fight. I texted my buddy Bo, because Bo follows boxing really well, and I texted him. I was like, dude, we might see a death. And he said the same thing. He's like, I cannot believe he but the numbers, the numbers that are, nobody knows the true payouts. They're saying it's around $200 million that they're splitting evenly. So they're getting about $100 million each. He said that it was $267 million. So I don't know who you believe or don't believe. Or it could be they're splitting 200 and the 67 delta, they had to pay DAZN because Anthony Joshua has a contract with DAZN. And this fight's going to be on Netflix. DAZN.
It's DAZN.
So they, which makes, how the hell?
Please stop saying DAZN, okay? That's like Saint Benoit, okay?
Where's the O in DAZN?
It's DAZN.
Well, there's no O or no E at the end.
It's DAZN.
But so they basically had to buy Anthony Joshua his permission.
Boxing analyst Henry offered a perspective often overlooked. Joshua also faces risks. While the public discussion mostly revolves around the danger Paul faces, Henry noted that Joshua has his own reputation on the line. Even the slightest mistake, one sloppy moment, one shot landed by Paul, could fuel massive headlines and potentially harm Joshua's legacy. For a fighter of Joshua's stature, anything less than a dominant, flawless victory would be considered disappointing. The stakes are high for both fighters, not just the underdog. Henry stressed that this fight is far from a guaranteed highlight reel for Joshua. The pressure on him is enormous.
Creates immense risk for Joshua is because even if Joshua wins this fight, it has to be perfect. There cannot be a moment of hesitation from Anthony Joshua. He can't look mentally shot. He can't take a punch, really. If he takes a big punch from Jake Paul, if he gets hurt in any way by Jake Paul, if he doesn't absolutely ice Jake Paul within a few rounds of this 8-round scheduled bout, well then it really affects his credibility. All the things that have ever been said about him, he's a hype job, he's been coddled. He didn't really want to fight Deontay Wilder when they were both in their prime. He's just a big bodybuilder, as Tyson Fury loves to put it. Anyone who's ever doubted him will have absolute ability to do so. And so the fact that this is actually a sanctioned fight, it tells me that Anthony Joshua cannot be going in there, or will not go in there and try to carry Jake Paul. Otherwise, it might as well just be an exhibition. If he does go in there and carry Jake Paul, my fear for him is that most people will not be aware that that's what he's doing. Reputationally, it would just cause serious damage. And like I say, I think the only way he comes out of this unscathed, reputationally, is by going in there and securing a clean knockout. Anthony Joshua can't do anything to boost how people view him as a boxer in this fight. All it can do is damage him unless he's punch perfect. He's fighting someone who realistically has nothing to lose and absolutely everything to gain. And that in itself can be dangerous, it can be risky. And given that Jake Paul has achieved so little, given that Anthony Joshua wants to remain relevant and credible, so it seems, because he has a couple of potentially big fights left, especially against Tyson Fury, why is he doing this? He doesn't want to jeopardize that, surely. Well, I can tell you exactly how I think he has rationalized this in his mind. The first thing is that he's going to get paid an absolute shed load of money. Around 50 million is what we're hearing. I've heard 50 million pounds, 50 million USD, but whatever happens, it's a significant amount of cash. Possibly one of his, will be one of his highest ever career paydays, possibly similar to what he'd make for a Tyson Fury fight. But for what? Like 1% of the risk? I don't know how to...
Promoter Eddie Hearn broke down the business side of the matchup. He explained why the financial offer on the table for Joshua is nearly impossible to decline. Joshua has already achieved almost every major accomplishment in the heavyweight division: world titles, global fame, historic wins. At this point, a huge payday becomes a logical and strategic decision. Hearn emphasized that boxing today is a combination of sport and entertainment. Joshua taking this fight isn't about necessity. It's about maximizing his earnings while staying relevant, keeping his name active, and tapping into the enormous online audience that Jake Paul brings. In Hearn's view, this matchup represents perfect timing, a blend of business, entertainment, and calculated career strategy.
By the ring by Mike Coppinger, that one's in the works and looking likely for December. What can you tell?
Yeah, not yet. I mean, there has been conversations, obviously. I think it comes down to how true, you know, they are. Jake Paul is that he actually wants to fight. I mean, he's a madman if he wants to fight. But for some reason, and you know, he thinks he can beat AJ. And I have to be honest, like, we were going to have a run out in December, over 8 rounds against a bloke you've never heard of. And we may end up having a run out against Jake Paul for a career high payday. I don't see how we can turn it down.
When I asked you about it a couple of days ago, you said that at that time you never really got into the financials. Have those been discussed now? Have you discussed the financial element?
There has been some conversations around that, and it is, I mean, it's a huge amount of money. And I think AJ would be mad if he didn't do it, and I think he will do it if Jake Paul is genuine. We may wake up tomorrow with these people and they've announced another fight. Like, honestly, anything could happen. So I still can't get my head around the fact that this guy wants to challenge AJ. There's some respect to him if it's true, but we shall see.
To end on that note, I spoke to Alpha Sharman earlier. He said that himself or DAZN have had no conversations about AJ potentially taking that fight. Obviously, AJ is exclusive to DAZN. What's the situation with regards to that? Because I know they'd want it.
Apparently the fight's done. Obviously, it's not done because, you know, those conversations have to take place. I'm very confident that I can have some positive conversations with DAZN. Obviously, we'll be on a clock, but it's a 50-50.
Last one from me. I saw Chris McKenna tweeted that Anthony Joshua currently doesn't have a British Boxing Board of Control licence. Obviously, it's not unusual for someone who isn't fighting currently and is inactive to let it run out. But he would have to apply for one to face Jake Paul again. And then they'd have to approve a fight. Do you think that...
Former champion David Haye focused on the unpredictable nature of boxing. Though Joshua is overwhelmingly favored, Haye reminded everyone that no fight is ever guaranteed. He stressed that underestimating any opponent, regardless of background, is the quickest path to an upset. Unexpected punches, strange angles, and adrenaline-fueled momentum can all change a fight instantly. Haye urged both fighters to stay disciplined and respect each other's abilities. The unpredictability is what makes boxing thrilling and what keeps everyone watching until the final bell.
It was only a couple of months ago that we were told it was really close, and then it was Jake and Tank, and now that's off for other reasons. Your initial reaction to the fact that December Miami might be on?
Yeah, jumping from Gervonta Davis all the way up to Anthony Joshua seems absurd. It doesn't seem like it's a reality.
Seems very Jake Paul.
It seems, but you know, sometimes these crazy things. Who would have ever thought Francis Ngannou would get a shot against Tyson Fury? When we first started talking about it, it's like, that's never going to happen. And when it did, we saw Tyson Fury have a very, very tough night, getting knocked down and scrape through on points. Anything's possible in boxing. I think the chances of Jake Paul beating Anthony Joshua, I don't know, he's got a very, very low chance. I can't see any way that Jake Paul can win a boxing match with 10, 12-ounce gloves on with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, you know, world champion, silver medalist, Olympic gold medalist, 2-time heavyweight champion. He's a top 10, top 5 in some people's arguments, heavyweight, and he hasn't gone that far over the hill. He's not Mike Tyson, nearly 60 years old. I can't see it happening, but if it can happen and AJ wants it, then obviously it's going to be a massive, massive payday as well as a massive spectacle. It would be an absolute crush box office numbers, and unfortunately for Jake, that will be potentially his last fight in boxing if
The video concludes with a brief message to stay tuned, highlighting just how much anticipation and global attention this controversial, high-stakes matchup continues to generate.